What is going on, trainers? DrumVillain here, bringing you some more Pokemon Go PvP content, and today we're looking at an open Great League team, and this is going to be an ABB formation looking at Ferrothorn on the lead and Azumaril and Pelipper in the back. So this team will not be eligible for the Remix Cup because both Azumaril and Pelipper are banned. Most of the strongest water types are banned from the Remix Cup, so this format might be difficult to make work in the Remix Cup, but Ferrothorn is very strong in both, so I do recommend you give it a try if you haven't used one yet, if you're looking for something new to change up your squad. Now, this is a very meta team. This is a team that is designed to help you climb in Go Battle League. It performs very well against other meta teams and against other meta picks in the Great League, and I've had fantastic success with this team. My average so far in the season is probably around 66 to 70%, and that's including all the losses we've taken while experimenting with these other Pokemon, these new movesets. And with this team, I've managed to keep my overall win rate that high using this team so far. Now, this team isn't infallible, no team is. Every team's going to have weaknesses, and there are some lines that are just going to hard counter you no matter what. But on average, this team's going to be winning. It wins a lot of leads, and a lot of backlines aren't prepared to deal with both Azumaril and Pelipper because of the nice coverage that they offer. So, the name of the game is Avoid the Fire type with Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is 4 times weak to fire moves. Fire moves will absolutely shred Ferrothorn, and running Power Whip and Flash Cannon gives us some great coverage, but it does not allow us to deal with fire types really. So if you run into a fire type on the lead, I recommend you swap to Pelipper specifically, because a lot of people running a fire lead will have a hard answer to a straight water type like Azumaril. If they're running a grass, they might struggle a lot more to deal with a Pelipper safe swap. Now, I'm going to talk about a lot of matchups in this video. I've done a lot of battles with this team. I've seen a lot of leads, a lot of backlines with this squad, and I think because it's such a strong line, it warrants talking about at length if you're thinking about building it for yourself and trying it for yourself, because I do recommend it. I'll be showing you guys some 5-0s that we've taken with this team, and also I'll be including some losses. I'm going to show you guys where we've gone wrong in some matchups, talk about maybe ways we could have played around it, and of course there are some lines that are just going to absolutely shut us down. I'm going to separate the video into chapters down below, so if there's any particular matchup that you're looking for that we've actually covered, they'll be separated in the timeline on the video so you can actually find that matchup and see what I think about that matchup, how to play around it, or if it's even possible to play around it. So a quick look at the squad. We've got Ferrothorn on the lead, and that is going to be running Bullet Seed, Power Whip and Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon because you want to be able to hit those Charmers pretty hard. A lot of people expect you to run Mirror Shot, which can have its uses in some situations, but being able to absolutely nuke something with that steel damage I find is much more appealing. We've got an Azumaril in the back running Bubble, Ice Beam and Hydro Pump, because if we're in matchups where we say swap Azumaril, we want to be able to defend ourselves against grass types that come in against us, or even flyers. And also we're going to be running Pelipper, and this is going to be running Wing Attack, Weather Ball and Hurricane. Weather Ball did receive a slight nerf at the beginning of the season, being reduced from 60 damage to 55, but it's still a very strong move, and Pelipper is still a very strong safe swap. Not to mention that it can finish games quite nicely with that massive Hurricane damage. Consider subscribing if you do enjoy the video and the squads. We're on the road to 1000. Become an absolute legend today and hit that button. And with all that said and done, let's jump into some battles. These battles are going to vary wildly in rank, from rank 12 up to rank 18 where we currently are. The first lead we're talking about is the Dream Lead, Azumaril. You love to see it. It doesn't matter what moveset Azumaril's got, even if it's got Ice Beam, it will hit you for less than 50% damage. So you can just fire off those Power Whips, not worry about shielding back, and threaten massively. This was very early on in using this team, and I did not know how to deal with a Ferrothorn safe swap. It seems like a very bad safe swap for our team to deal with, since we're running double water in the back. But the good news is that we don't actually have to swap out at all, because Pelipper does very well against Azumaril as well. None of our team have a bad matchup with Azumaril. The worst is our own Azumaril, because we don't have Play Rough, and still Hydro Pump puts a lot of work in there. And because we've got Flash Cannon is the best move to have in the mirror match with another Ferrothorn, because you're hitting for single resisted. If they throw Power Whip, it's double resisted. If they're throwing Thunder, it's single resisted, but it's not stab. So as you can see, we're still able to control switch advantage with them swapping out comfortably. They bring in an Azumaril, which makes me think maybe they've got double water on their team, so maybe we should have tried to preserve the Ferrothorn, but we didn't want to risk swapping out into something else, losing to their Ferrothorn, and then being in a clumsy situation. We decide to swap out aggressively to our Azumaril, see what we can bait out in the back, see what they've got, and it is actually a Venusaur. And we are up a shield here, but this Frenzy Plant will not one-shot. So we can see here that Pelipper is going to have a lot of play, and Ferrothorn would have had a lot of play against this team. We actually get farmed down by their Venusaur, which is quite bad for us. So what we're going to do is going to bring in Ferrothorn, tempt them to throw the energy straight away, empty it out, because Pelipper has a decent matchup because the wing attacks chip away so much at Venusaur, but the Frenzy Plant is going to hit for massive damage. So what we're going to do here, we're going to keep shielding these Frenzy Plants and probably farm down this Venusaur entirely, and then we're going to have all that energy to dump into the Azumaril. You can survive one player off our Ice Beam even at the range that we currently are at, and we should be able to deal with this Azumaril now. This is going to do big damage, this Hurricane, and then if we can get to a second one, it should be enough to finish off. I think this might be an XL Azumaril on the other team because it took that hit pretty well, but I don't think they're going to make it to another move. It's going to be close. We overcharge a little bit. I think that's a little bit risque, but we're going to get this off, and then it's can we take out this Venusaur? We do. Very close. 1 HP in a dream, but that's going to be a good game. So don't forget that Pelipper does very well against water types as well. So if you see a water on the lead and they swap out, and Ferrothorn is your best answer to what they swap out to, don't be afraid to stay in, because Pelipper deals with Politoed, Azumaril and Swampert fairly well. Now let's talk about Coffee Boy lead. If you don't know why it's called Coffee Boy, check out my video I did on COFAGRIGUS last week. Since it got its Shadow Claw move update, it's quite a popular pick and it's quite strong. It does have access to Shadow Ball, which does hit very hard. It wouldn't actually take us out. I wasn't sure of that at the time, but it does put us at risk of being farmed down if they do choose to commit shields later on in the matchup. And as you throw more and more Bullet Seeds, as more moves are thrown, you do start outpacing COFAGRIGUS, but also we're slightly more threatened by the Shadow Ball than they are by the Power Whips. So we decided to swap out and see what they've got in the back in case they got something weak to grass that we're going to have to tempt out. First with Azumaril, and we actually pull out a Hypno. And Hypno with Thunder Punch does do pretty well against Azumaril, but also it's not a hard counter. And if this is their best counter to Azumaril, it's a good chance that they're going to struggle with Pelipper in the back. And also, dragging out a Hypno, Azumaril can take these Thunder Punches, but Pelipper cannot. Pelipper is double weak to electric, so baiting out this Hypno is actually key because we'd have just been swept by this Hypno otherwise. Now we're going to be able to bring in Ferrothorn. I think we're going to take this move. They might have Fire Punch, but I think we're willing to accept the risk. They just throw a Thunder Punch, that's fine. Their Coffee Boy is going to swap in, throw a move. I think we're going to let this, yeah, we're going to shield it up, okay, that's cool. But we're also going to swap out aggressively into Pelipper because they seemed pretty desperate to take out our Ferrothorn. And yes, this means that Hypno can line up to the Pelipper if it wants, but also it doesn't have the energy to get to a move before we get to a Weather Ball and take them out. So let's see what they've got in the back, and it's an Azumaril. And again, you're going to see this matchup a lot because there's a lot of Azumarils running around in Open Great League. But Pelipper deals with it pretty well. They kind of match each other, Azumaril and Pelipper, especially with shields down, because it takes 2 of their charge moves to KO you, and it takes 2 Hurricanes roughly to knock them out. They swap out into Hypno, and we decide it's actually worth swapping out into our Ferrothorn just so they don't throw a Thunder Punch at our Pelipper and to keep some of that energy, because this forces the Azumaril to throw at Ferrothorn or be taken out, which is fine. They throw the Ice Beam, takes out, that uses a lot of their energy, which means we can definitely get to this Hurricane. The Hurricane's overkill at this point. The Weather Ball would have been enough, but without those extra fast moves going through on it, we would have struggled to knock them out with that Weather Ball otherwise. GG. So, on to the next matchup, and another very common lead in the Great League is Politoed. Obviously Politoed is very weak to Ferrothorn. If it has Earthquake or Blizzard, it can hit for quite strong neutral damage, but you're getting to these Power Whips so fast and the Bullet Seeds do start to chip away, so you're very threatening. If the Politoed's staying in, like this one here, it's quite a big indicator they're probably weak to Ferrothorn with something in the back as well. So since they're built up for Blizzard, it's worth shielding. We're going to see what they bring in. They bring in a Skarmory, and we decide we're going to chip this thing down. We're going to throw a Flash Cannon. This hits for good neutral damage. You see, it's about between a quarter and a third, but it does add up because this puts a lot less pressure on our Azumaril having to land a Hydro Pump. Because now we can take this move. If it had been a Brave Bird, that would have been fine because then we could have been definitely threatening the KO with these Ice Beams. And Skarmory does struggle to farm down an Azumaril after throwing a Brave Bird. So now we're going to throw a move, we're going to let this go. It's probably just a Sky Attack. I think we've been counting at this point, yep. So we know it's a Sky Attack, that's fine, we'll let it go through. So we're on even shields, we've kept switch advantage, and they bring in a regular Stunfisk, which regular Stunfisk really struggles with grass types. Ferrothorn resists, well, it doesn't resist Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb hits for neutral damage, but not very much at that. And again, your Power Whips are hitting for massive damage. So we're able to throw an Ice Beam. We could have thrown the Hydro Pump really, and we really should have, but the Stunfisk throws, which is very nice for us because a discharge from this Pokemon is going to do big damage to Pelipper. So again, we're very lucky that Azumaril's managed to drag this out because we can just get Ferrothorn on this Stunfisk, deal with it, and then Pelipper can deal with the Politoed. Now we know Politoed has Blizzard, which will hit Pelipper very, very hard, but you can take it, and the Wing Attack's going to chip away massively. We've already done some work on this Politoed. We're going to throw a move here. I think we're going to accept it. In fact, if this is a Weather Ball, it won't take us out because Ferrothorn's pretty bulky. But we're going to swap out now. We're not going to get farmed down by these Mud Shots. Swap out aggressively to Pelipper. I think we can let this go. Yeah, they didn't build up energy again for Blizzard. They're just throwing Weather Balls. And we can just go straight for a Hurricane and KO them. The opponent realizes and backs out. GG. Again, showing that just because Ferrothorn has a good matchup doesn't mean you have to keep that matchup because Pelipper could deal with the Politoed just fine. A great thing about Ferrothorn in the Great League is that it beats most other grass types. The only other grass type that gives it a fair fight is probably Tropius if it's running Air Slash. Now, Serperior can do alright because it's got Aerial Ace as a move. This Serperior is throwing Frenzy Plant, which is double resisted. If you are running Serperior and you do have Aerial Ace, I recommend you throw Aerial Ace at Ferrothorn. Our Flash Cannon hits for massive damage, more than 50%. And they're staying in here. They now throw the Aerial Ace, which I think, well, it doesn't actually really hit much less. It doesn't really hit less hard than a Frenzy Plant does, but it is the better move to throw in this matchup. Because they stayed in with Serperior, we're pretty sure that they're weak to Ferrothorn in the back. So they were bringing in a Stunfisk there, and we decided to swap out immediately, blindly, to Azumaril to see what we could pull out of the back, and we pull out an Azumaril on the other side. Again, they're running Play Rough, we're not, so this is bad for us. But it's not bad overall because we know it's a Galarian Stunfisk, and Pelipper on even energy goes toe-to-toe with Stunfisk. You get to the charge moves at the same pace. You can both take one of them, but neither of you can take two of them. So it's a very tit-for-tat matchup, and there's a good chance Ferrothorn can get a bit of a farm on this Azumaril. Like this Azumaril can't farm us down. We're actually going to swap out aggressively to our Pelipper here, because Pelipper does well against Azumaril and against Stunfisk, and we can get a buttload of energy. And in the matchup against Galarian Stunfisk, energy is everything. It's about being able to get to 2 moves and hit them on your opponent before they get to 2 and hit you. So we've got a bunch of energy. They've just made it to their first Rock Slide. We're almost at our second Weather Ball. And as you can see, we still all had 2 shields up at this point, which is quite late in the game for both sides to have 2 shields. But this is going to work out really well for us because we're so far ahead on energy. The main risk is not letting them sneak Mud Shots through, which is why we are actually throwing at the same pace that they're throwing. Now we're feeling a little bit confident here, so we decide to let Pelipper go down. We could have taken that matchup if we wanted to. We decided we're going to come in with Azumaril and build up. They swap out to Azumaril, we swap out to Ferrothorn and farm down the Azumaril. This is a bit of a messy matchup. We're all swapping all over the place. Could have been a little bit smoother if we'd have stayed in with the Pelipper, but also it's not a big stress. You see Ferrothorn's Power Whip hits for massive damage on Stunfisk there. They're trying to build up a lot of energy because they know our Azumaril has energy and they need enough to take both out. We make it another Power Whip and take them out. Good game. This team does deal fairly well with Galarian Stunfisk. 2 Power Whips generally KO from Ferrothorn. Azumaril does well against it, and Pelipper can go toe-to-toe with the Weather Balls. So we don't really stress about seeing Galarian Stunfisks in this meta. But speaking of, here's one on the lead. Now you see a lot of Galarian Stunfisk leads, and it can be quite hard to try and predict what they've got in the back. But one thing's for sure is that most Galarian Stunfisks will have an answer to your Azumaril in the back. Azumaril is probably one of the most common things that people swap in against a Stunfisk. So they are very, very ready for it in the back. They probably have a grass type in the back. They've probably got Meganium, Venusaur, maybe Shifter if they're feeling spicy, but they probably have a hard answer. Maybe even Galvantula, but I haven't seen many Galvantulas so far this season. I think it's dropped in popularity. We swap out and catch a Flash Cannon, and I have no idea what on earth a Stunfisk is doing with Flash Cannon. We bring in a Azumaril, they bring in a Bastiodon. This team is absolutely nuts, and I assume they thought we didn't have Hydro Pump, because an XL Bastiodon beats Azumaril if the Azumaril does not have Hydro Pump. Now, we'd already taken some decent chip damage from that Flash Cannon, so we're going to be able to get to this Ice Beam, and this isn't actually going to be enough to take it out if they do let it go through, which they do. We get farmed down. That's fine. Because the Stunfisk threw both Flash Cannon and Rock Slide, we know that they don't have Earthquake, because Earthquake does hit Ferrothorn for pretty reasonable damage, hits for maybe like 2/3 of its health. So it's an okay matchup, Ferrothorn on Stunfisk, but it's not brilliant for you either. It's very neutral. And they've got Politoed in the back, so now Ferrothorn can put some serious work in. We know they're only building up to a Weather Ball, so we're going to let it go through. I feel like they're trying to get a shield out of us, and we're just not going to give it up. We know Pelipper can still put a lot of work in on this team. We're going to farm up some energy in advance. We don't need to shield this because a Rock Slide from the Stunfisk would hit much, much, much harder. And we're ahead on energy. We can make to this Weather Ball. This is going to be a very convincing win for us. I'm not sure if the opponent struggled when if they stuttered and swapped in the Bastiodon instead of Politoed by accident to our Azumaril, but either way, we were in a strong position for our team comp against theirs, and the Bastiodon didn't actually have Flamethrower. Bastiodon can do huge damage to Ferrothorn if it has Flamethrower because it's double super effective, but also you can put in a lot of work with the Power Whips because you get to those charge moves a lot faster and they do hit for decent neutral damage. So we're able to take a cheeky 5-0 there, and this is at rank 12, but this was also recorded late on last week when everyone was at around rank 13, 14, 15 if you were doing all your matches. We actually didn't do our first day of battles this season. We decided to take a day off. Okay, so here's a matchup I felt like I had to talk to you guys about, and that is Hypno. Hypno's scary because it can have Fire Punch to hit Ferrothorn for double super effective, it can have Thunder Punch to hit Azumaril and Pelipper very hard. So what we do is we're going to catch it, we swap out. If they stay in, there's a good chance they've got Fire Punch. If they swap out, they're probably running Ice Punch and Thunder Punch. So we swap out when they get to a punch, which I believe is when you get to a Power Whip. So we didn't actually throw a charge move, we just swapped out then to catch, hoping it was a Fire Punch, which it was. So that wastes that energy on them. We've got some nice energy built up on Ferrothorn, and the Psychics aren't doing that much anyway to Ferrothorn, so it's not like we took much damage for the energy. They're bringing in a Bastiodon because I assume this is because people think that Bastiodon beats Azumaril if you've not got Hydro Pump, and they just gamble with that. They're like, they must be running Play Rough, they swapped it in, so I'll bring in my Bastiodon. And if you've got Hydro Pump, it hits for massive damage and you can take them out. So we take swap advantage, and they've got a Politoed in the back. This is beautiful. Both Pelipper and Ferrothorn can put a lot of work in on this Politoed. We're going to bring in Ferrothorn because we know they have Fire Punch, but we don't know they have Thunder Punch. They swap out aggressively into Hypno, and I think, okay, so we CMP tie here, we're going to shield up, throw the Power Whip because we're at a lot of energy now, we're at 100 energy, pretty much. So we're going to throw his Power Whip, this will do big damage. Hypno's pretty bulky, but it is also a Shadow, so we get a shield out of him. And then we're going to throw one more Bullet Seed because it's a 3-turn fast move to Hypno's 4, so we can guarantee throwing this Power Whip before they throw. And then we're going to throw a couple more and then swap to Pelipper again to try and catch. And if this is a Fire Punch, this is beautiful. And it is, it's a Fire Punch. So this trainer, I believe, gets pretty upset at this point, which I would be if it was me and someone caught 2 Fire Punches from a Ferrothorn onto their Water types. And at this point, we've got the lag, which I think means the trainer's probably disconnected. They might have quit the match, closed their app. So we're just going to farm down the Hypno. The Politoed comes in and it's not going to be doing anything, and we can just build up and throw a Hurricane. I'm pretty sure this trainer's actually quit the match, yeah. Obviously, we did pull off pretty good catches there, so I can understand this trainer's frustration. We're just going to go for the Power Whip here to make sure we take it out with this one charge move, save us some time. Good game all the same. Sometimes it's definitely worth thinking outside the box for what you can do in a certain situation. We might have been fine in that matchup overall if we'd have stayed in against the Hypno and let Ferrothorn go down, but it's not often worth gambling if you know you can make a catch like that. It's worth trying, definitely, to save yourself some shields and some health. Okay, so on to another bad lead here, and that's Obstagoon. And you want to safe swap from this lead into Pelipper, because most Obstagoons are prepared for an Azumaril safe swap. Azumaril is one of the most common strong answers to an Obstagoon, so if you swap into an Azumaril, there's a chance they got something to hard counter you, probably a grass type, and again, Pelipper's going to have more play against that kind of counter swap than Azumaril does. And you see we draw out a Swampert, and Swampert's not a very good answer to Pelipper. We've got so much energy here, we can put some serious work, and we could have actually one-shot with the Hurricane there, but if they'd have shielded that, we'd have then been on the back foot. And at this point, because they've let one Weather Ball through, we could actually commit both shields and farm down completely with Wing Attack now, so we can guarantee getting switch advantage now. And that means we can guarantee getting Azumaril onto Obstagoon and keeping Ferrothorn away from it, and that is key. So Pelipper are able to take switch for us there in the one shield, and they bring in an A.Marowak, specifically an A.Marowak running Hex, which is slightly better for us than Fire Spin, but really it's looking like Ferrothorn doesn't have much use in this game. But we feel like Ferrothorn might get one shot by a Fire Blast. A lot of Hex A.Marowaks like to run Fire Blast, and yeah, they hit Azumaril with the Fire Blast. They were probably expecting the Ferrothorn to come in there. So we're going to bring in Azumaril and start putting some work in, start farming down, and Azumaril's just going to have to basically carry us through this. Now, Ferrothorn has a bad matchup against Obstagoon, but when all shields are down, we can get some serious work done in. The Power Whips are going to hit pretty hard. Obstagoon doesn't really have a nuke that's going to one-shot us. Cross Drop would do pretty big damage, but it's not going to take us out completely. So we're going to save the shield here because we're assuming it's either a Night Slash or a Cross Drop, neither of which will be enough to take out the Azumaril. We don't have Play Rough, so we can't one-shot them, but we can do big damage, swap into Ferrothorn, and even if we didn't have this shield, we'd probably be able to take this move, make it to the Power Whip and still take the win. But we are going to shield either way, just to play it safe, make sure that nothing like a bit of lag then costs us the match. Get the Power Whip off, and we're going to take that win. GG! So Pelipper proven its worth in that matchup and been able to take switch advantage for us and really get the lineup that we needed. Just because Ferrothorn would have really struggled against the A.Marowak more than against the Obstagoon, but still being able to get that strong advantage really put us in a good spot in that game. Okay, so a slightly more unusual lead here, and that's Shadow Lapras. Now Shadow Lapras or regular Lapras is still kind of the same matchup for you. The Ice Shards are going to be hitting you for neutral, but you're going to be hitting for massive super effective damage with the Power Whip. So you want to stay in that matchup. If they build up to an Ice Beam, I'd consider shielding it if it's a Shadow, but other than that, you're generally fine in that matchup. Now they swap out to a Mandibuzz and we throw the Flash Cannon, which is unnecessary. I think we should just save the energy and swapped into Azumaril straight away. Azumaril really does shut down Mandibuzz. The extra damage from the Flash Cannon is nice because now this Mandibuzz is pretty much in Ice Beam range, but I don't think it's necessary. The best thing Mandibuzz has to throw at us here is Aerial Ace. Almost no Mandibuzz are running Shadow Ball in the Great League. It just doesn't give enough extra coverage alongside Dark Pulse or Foul Play. So Azumaril was safe to bring in without doing any extra chip damage to a Mandibuzz. If someone swaps in a Mandibuzz, you bring your Azumaril in. It's a very, very, very good answer. So they bring in Lapras. I'm just going straight for the Hydro Cannon. We're not expecting them Hydro Pump, sorry, not Cannon. Imagine if Azumaril had Hydro Cannon now, that would be busted. We're just going to throw the Hydro Pump at the Lapras, do a very, very good chunk of damage, and this Lapras has to throw to take us out. They have Skull Bash, which means they probably don't have Ice Beam. They're probably running Surf and Skull Bash. It's the very standard moveset for Lapras in the Great League, but some are running Ice Beam. So now we know that Ferrothorn doesn't really have to shield anything. Skull Bash should do big damage, and we were a little afraid it was going to be another Skull Bash, so we do actually shield up. And because we were up a shield, it's not the biggest waste in the world. But now they swap in a Nidoqueen, and you think Pelipper's a very, very solid answer to Nidoqueen, and it is. It does put good work in, but also those Poison Jabs and Poison Fangs are neutral, and they do add up. Like, they've hit us very, very hard there. But at this point, we're not feeling too threatened. Ferrothorn actually does very well against Nidoqueen as well, because you're resisting the poison moves. The Earth Power does hit for good neutral damage, but you can put a lot of work in with the Power Whips in that meantime. But we figured we might as well spend the Pelipper there because it's got more play against the Nidoqueen than it has against the Lapras. Now it's going to be able to get to these Power Whips and take out this Lapras with a lot of energy built up from farming down the Nidoqueen. and that's going to be a good game. Right, so Lapras generally a positive lead, just be wary of the Ice Beam from a Shadow, because Ferrothorn's got some bulk, but not that much bulk. This is probably one of the most awkward leads you can run into, I would say, and that's Altaria. The main problem with Altaria leads is that Ferrothorn doesn't win this matchup, it struggles quite heavily. We have Flash Cannon, which is a very good move to have for that matchup. It's the best move, I would say, that you can have for the Altaria matchup. But Pelipper also struggles with Altaria, so Azumaril is your best answer, and is really your only answer to it. And we make a massive mistake in this game and we swap Azumaril in, and that's our only answer to Altaria. And they do bring in a Meganium, and it's not quite attack weighted enough to take us out with the Vine Whips and the one Frenzy Plant, so we're able to actually get switch advantage, which is absolutely nuts that they let us get switch advantage against an Altaria with such a favourable lead for them. If we would have had a better answer for Altaria in the back, that would have been a dramatic mistake on their part, but we actually don't. So we actually bring Ferrothorn back in because, and this is 4-dimensional chess thinking, but if they're happy to give up switch, that means both their Pokemon probably deal very well with Ferrothorn. So we might as well bring in Ferrothorn against the Altaria, throw the Flash Cannon, get some good neutral damage, and save Pelipper of whatever's in the back. And it turns out they have a Toxicroak in the back, which does very, very well against Ferrothorn as well. But Pelipper does pretty well because you can see those wing attacks are absolutely smashing this Toxicroak to pieces. Now we need this to be a Mud Bomb, it should be, they didn't build up enough energy for a Sludge Bomb there. We farm down completely, and the Altaria is pretty low, so really we need to dump Weather Balls into this. If we throw the Hurricane and we get a shield, we lose all the energy, so we get the shield there, throw another Weather Ball, hopefully this is enough to take it out. It's going to be close, it might not quite be enough. No, it's not quite. We're going to swap into Ferrothorn immediately to, well actually we hoped we'd get to the Power Whip to finish them off, but it makes them dump energy, which is also fine. But we're also able to get to the Power Whip anyway and take out the Altaria. There's a chance we'd have got one more wing attack through with Pelipper and finish them off as well, but it was a big gamble there, but GG all the same. Okay, despite the awful lead and counter swap, we were able to pull that game back, but do not swap Azumaril into Altaria. Always say swap Pelipper, that's your best shout. See what they've got, see how they react and what they choose to do with that. Don't put Azumaril into Altaria. We really, in most situations, would have lost that game because of that mistake. Right, Umbreon, my boy, my favourite pick in the Great League, the mighty Umbreon. How do we deal with it? Because we do have Azumaril in the back, and just about every Umbreon team has a solid answer to Azumaril in the back, which means we absolutely have to get switch advantage because they probably have a hard grass or electric or something that just shuts down Azumaril, or we have to swap to catch a foul play, except that we're probably going to lose this swap-in matchup for the price of catching that foul play and just see what they bring in. And they swap in a Jellicent, and Jellicent does do pretty well against Azumaril, especially because we don't have Play Rough. We can't threaten for big neutral damage. They do throw a Bubble Beam and debuffers, but we're not interested in shielding. We're just we're happy to let this Azumaril go. We're happy to soft lose this matchup and then get a bunch of energy on Ferrothorn to then throw more moves at that Umbreon if it comes back into meters. But Hydro Pump does alright against Jellicent, but because they threw a Bubble Beam and debuffed us, these aren't going to do 50%, so we're not going to risk two-shotting them with the Hydro Pump. So what we're going to we'll do is swap out immediately, aggressively, and throw a Power Whip immediately. This forces a shield out of them, or they have to give up the Jellicent, which is nice, and it also pulls a Medicham out of the back. So Jellicent is their only answer to Azumaril on this team. Now, we don't have Play Rough, which is the move you want for both Medicham and Umbreon, but also it's not super necessary, but also our Azumaril's really low. So we're in a bit of a scary position. We're going to bring in the Azumaril and pressure this Medicham to throw. I believe the opponent disconnected, or they stopped throwing moves, which is a little bit cheeky. Yeah, that amount of... Have they disconnected? No, they're throwing a move. It didn't look like they were throwing any counters there, though, for a moment. They do throw a Psychic and take us out. We were wanting them to throw that energy into the Azumaril either way, so they would dry on energy, so then we could farm them down with the Pelipper. We shield up in fear of another Psychic. It's just an Ice Punch, but it would have done good damage. And now, with Pelipper and Umbreon, Umbreon outbulks Pelipper pretty well. Pelipper struggles on even shield scenarios just to put out enough damage to take it down, whereas only two foul plays will be heavily threatening to to a Pelipper, but because we've got such a massive shield advantage, we can throw the Hurricane and take them out. Now, they've still got the Jelly with some health left, but not much. But we're happy to overcharge here because we've still got a shield to spare. We'll shield this up, and then we can we probably could farm down with Wing Attack, but rather than risk it, we're just going to throw this Weather Ball, accent the damage, finish them off, and I believe the Medicham is super low, but we're also very close to a Weather Ball. Why gamble? Throw the move, get him out of here, plus the timer's coming up. So that match did drag on quite far. We were in a pretty tricky spot in that match, and if the opponent did lag, I apologise. You've just got to take those wins when you can get them, and it's a shame for the opponent because they really probably could have won that match if they did lag, because we didn't win by much. Okay, another unusual lead, and that is Alolan Raichu. Now this is a pretty good lead for Ferrothorn because whether it's running Psychic, Wild Charge, Thunder Punch or Grass Knot, you're going to be resisting all those moves, and the Wild Charge would hit very hard if they do throw it. It would do absolutely monumental damage to us. Now we're going to go for a farm down because they let the Power Whip through, but they actually swap out to Skarmory. We're going to throw the Flash Cannon just to get some chip damage on it first, and then swap out to Azumarill again, just so we're not pressured to try and land that that Hydro Pump, because that Alolan Raichu would absolutely disintegrate Pelipper. Like, one Volt Switch is going to hit for massive damage because it's such an attack weighted Pokemon, an attack weighted move, and it's double super effective. So we have to keep Ferrothorn on that thing. Azumarill can probably farm down the Alolan Raichu at this point, but I think they've got enough energy for one more Thunder Punch. They swap out, and it's... Did they swap into a Stunfisk? I thought I saw a Mud Shot get thrown there. It is a Stunfisk, okay. We make a mistake here, and we swap back into Ferrothorn. We misjudge how healthy the Raichu is. It's got a bit of health, and against Pelipper, that can do quite a bit of work because it's resisting the wing attacks. Now, we hope that's a Rock Slide, and it is. It's not quite enough to take us out. We're going to throw the Ice Beam because all their Pokemon are getting low, so expecting the shield here, yeah. And we need to not get farmed down here. They actually throw, but we're at an Ice Beam. So is this worth shielding and throwing? It probably is, yeah. Shield up, throw this move, we get the last shield out of them. Now we can survive one Rock Slide on Pelipper, but we cannot survive a charge move from that Raichu. We swap in to snipe down the Stunfisk to get ahead on energy. The Raichu swaps in to throw energy. At our Azumarill, we catch a Thunder Punch and get one shot, and that is absolutely awful for us. We're not going to be able to make it to another Ice Beam. They might have even been able to farm us down before we got to it there, to be honest, and they're going to take the win. Good game. The big mistake in that game was not swapping in the Pelipper into their Stunfisk, going toe-to-toe with that and putting some work in and saving Ferrothorn for the Raichu. Another bad lead here, and that's Skarmory. Now in this match we swap out into Azumarill and we're mapped with an opposing Azumarill. I actually think the better safe swap against a Skarmory once again is Pelipper, because it still pressures them to swap out, but Azumarill has a better matchup than Pelipper does against Skarmory, because Skarmory is resisting the wing attacks from Pelipper, and in a lot of Pelipper's matchups they really do chip away and add up a lot. But also, we're punished with an Azumarill to ours, which there are worse things to be punished with. We could consider trying to take switch advantage, but we would need to be sneaking bubbles through and denying their bubbles when we throw. It's a very tough matchup to try and pull yourself around out of. So we decided to swap out aggressively into Pelipper and get ahead on energy, expecting them to swap back into Skarmory no matter what. Probably expecting us to swap out into Ferrothorn, if I'm honest, but maybe this was on purpose. Depends what they've got in the back. Maybe what they've got in the back is also weak to Pelipper. We'll have to wait and see. So the good thing, the wing attacks are resisted, so you're not chipping away that much, but also you outpace Skarmory massively to these weather balls. You get to them much, much faster than they get to charge moves, and you can really chip away with them. The bad news is if they land one Sky attack over a drawn out matchup, they can probably just farm you down after that point, because Pelipper is pretty squishy. So we're going to commit 2 shields in here, swap back into Azumarill. We're trying to play all kinds of 4D chess. You're able to farm down the Skarmory with Azumarill before they get a move off, and now we can throw an Ice Beam at their Azumarill, pressure them to shield, or potentially knock them out. It's not quite going to be enough, and they swap out into Scrafty. This is bad. Pelipper's spent, Azumarill's knocked out, and we've got Ferrothorn against this. Now, the one good thing is that shields are down, and this Scrafty is going to be throwing power-up punches, which don't hit very hard. They might as well hit the same as roughly a counter. worth of damage. So it's not really chipping away any extra for us not having shields. So at least we spent them in a better matchup. These Power Whips do good damage if they go through. Swap out to Pelipper. We're pressuring them to swap out and clear their attack buffs, to be honest. That was the plan, but they do stay in. But these wing attacks are really chipping away. They're going to have to throw to take out this Pelipper, and now they're super low. So it's, can we take out this Scrafty? It's very, very, very low. Can we Bullet Seed down? We're just able to. Can we Bullet Seed down the Azumaril as well? One, yep, we take them out and take the win. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the worst kind of lead for Ferrothorn, and that is Fire. And that is in the form of a Talonflame. Now, good lord, we hate Talonflame. The Incinerates hit for monstrous damage. So you want to swap out straight away, and you want to swap to Pelipper. This, once again, is because if they have a grass type to punish a water swap in, Pelipper still does good damage with the wing attacks. So it's a very, very versatile water safe swap. They actually swap in a Sylveon, which is still bad because they can charm us down. So we're going for the Hail Mary. We got a shield with the Weather Ball. Will they shield the Hurricane? Bang! One shots to Sylveon, and now we have switch and shield advantage in this game, which means we can keep Ferrothorn away from Talonflame. They've got an Obstagoon in the back, which is still awful for Ferrothorn. So we're not going to shield it at all. We're just going to build up energy and just dump Power Whips into this Obstagoon. We're just going to spend the Ferrothorn as best we can and save all shields for Azumaril, because Azumaril is going to do very well in both of these matchups. And since we've got both shields, we can kind of one-shot both these Pokemon with Hydro Pumps. And also against the Talonflame lead, Azumaril has a better matchup in the end game than Pelipper, because Azumaril can survive a Brave Bird. We've shielded this up because we've got shields to spare, but you can survive that Brave Bird anyway, unless they've done a couple of flame charges and powered themselves up. But it's way, way less threatening. Pelipper cannot take a Brave Bird. So Ferrothorn's still able to put in a lot of work, even though both Pokemon it was left with to face were still very good against it. Those Power Whips are very useful if you can hit something for neutral damage. Now let's take a look at Defense Deoxys. This is a bad lead because the counters are super effective. Yeah, you resist all of Deoxys' charge moves, but that counter damage is going to just chip away over time. You can put work in with the Power Whips if you stay in, but we opt to swap out to Azumaril, see if they have a stronger water counter in the back. It also tempts Deoxys to stay in, because a lot of teams actually use Defense Deoxys as a counter to Azumaril because a lot of them run Thunderbolt. Now they actually throw a move and then swap out to Toxicroak, obviously hoping to finish us off and get swap, but we're just going to go for 2 Ice Beams, which gets a shield out of this opponent before they throw. We're not going to shield because they built up a lot of energy here. We assume it's a Mud Bomb. It is, and that's not even enough to take us out, so we're able to get to another Ice Beam here. I think they overestimated how hard that Mud Bomb would hit, so we're able to take switch advantage and shield advantage. Now the Deoxys comes in and farms down. This is scary because we know it's got Thunderbolt, and Thunderbolt from Deoxys will one-shot Pelipper, and the counters are going to chip away at Ferrothorn. So we're coming with Ferrothorn, absorb the energy that they've been building up, and then they're going to swap out into, was that an Umbreon? I think it was an Umbreon. So throw a Power Whip, do some good chip damage to it, and we might stay in a bit. Yeah, we'll throw one more Power Whip. Now I think we're going to wait for them to throw one Foul Play, because they built up quite a bit of energy now, and then we're going to swap into Pelipper, just so they haven't got 2 back-to-back Foul Plays to throw straight away at us, and we can put in a bit of work here with these Weather Balls. We've got Umbreon fairly low, so the Weather Balls and wing attacks are quite threatening now. The Foul Play hits, like I say, hits for a good chunk, and with the Snarls, I think an Umbreon that hits with 2 Foul Plays can then snarl you down if you're actually at full health at a level matchup. Now we've got a buttload of shields, we've got a fair bit of health on Pelipper, we're resisting the counter, so we can't get farmed down. It has to land a Thunderbolt. I assume it probably has Psycho Boost as well, which is pretty scary because we are in Psycho Boost range. Ferrothorn's pretty low as well, and it seems this Deoxys is committing to just spamming Psycho Boost to try and finish us off here in this game. The good news is that its attack falls 2 stages every time they throw, and we get a bit overzealous, overcharging there, and they get to another one, and I thought we'd lost it, but we actually survived because Deoxys' attack stat gets lowered so far. We get to a Hurricane. This is going to obliterate what's left of Defense Deoxys, and that's going to give us the win. So we're able to take that win despite Defense Deoxys being super threatening to our entire line there. Now let's jump ahead to some battles we've done more recently, up at rank 18, and this is a Medicham lead. Medicham lead again, awful for Ferroseed. Once again, most Medichams are prepared for an Azumaril to swap in, so we're going to safe swap Pelipper and see what it can do, and we actually pull out a Greedent, and I have no idea how this matchup goes. I presume we can survive a Body Slam, and it looks like the second one will take us out. We've got a lot of energy though, and we're going to go for the Weather Ball. I don't think a Hurricane would actually KO at this point because Greedent is quite bulky in the Great League, and apparently it's going to be very bulky in the Ultra League as well. Now, we're going to keep building up, We're going to keep threatening that we're throwing a Hurricane. We didn't quite make it to it at this point, but we did want to throw before they got to their charge move. And we're assessing whether to shield this. We decided to let it go. We've got a fair bit of energy, but we can actually survive. Oh, it'd have been nice to get that Weather Ball off. But we decided we're just going to come in with Ferrothorn and just get rid of this thing, and then hope that Azumaril can sweep the back line with this one shield advantage. There are a lot of Pokemon that can't beat Azumaril if they're down a shield, and we don't have the Play Rough to do massive damage to the Medicham, but Hydro Pump is going to do big damage. And since all their shields are down, if they bring Medicham into our Ferrothorn now, they're going to eat a Power Whip that's going to do big damage as well. We figured they were going to get to one more crunch before we could farm down, so we actually catch on Azumaril, and this is very nice because Ferrothorn has all that built up energy that it can still throw. We don't have to use our last shield yet, and they've got a low Ninetails. And we think this might be a Dazzling Gleam actually. No, it's a Weather Ball. Oh, that's a fantastic call, not shielding the Weather Ball. And they're obviously wanting to get to a Dazzling Gleam, which will do massive damage to Azumaril. It won't take us out, but it will get us very low. I think this is probably worth shielding now because a Dazzling Gleam will hit harder than anything that the Medicham can throw, but they actually throw another Weather Ball. So they bait us, well, they didn't bait us the first time, they bait us the second time. This is a Dazzling Gleam, which it is. It's not quite going to take us out. We're able to farm down. We've got some energy to throw at Medicham. We're hoping to get to this Hydro Pump. I think we're one bubble away, but we need to land this Hydro Pump and then land a Power Whip, and those two combined should be enough to take out this Medicham. It's going to be close though. We actually swap and catch a move, and I'm thinking, oh god, if I've actually caught something strong here. It's a Power Up Punch, does a good little chip of damage to us. We're going to throw this Power Whip, and I don't know if they actually swapped and caught there. They did, they caught on the Greedent. That's absolutely awful for us. We're going to throw this Power Whip. Is it going to be enough to take out the Medicham? It's going to be super close this. It's not quite. We get farmed down. We've got a Azumaril. Can it survive one counter? It does. We farm down. We take the win. Super close matchup, showing that you don't need Play Rough to deal with Medicham, but it does help. We would have had a little less issue with that Medicham if we had Play Rough, but also there's quite a few matchups where Bastiodon swap into our Azumaril, and we would have a bad time if we didn't have Hydro Pump to deal with those tanks there. Okay, here's a tough lead, Abomasnow. Abomasnow does very well against our whole team. Pelipper's probably the best matchup because the wing attacks are hitting for super effective and chip away very fast. We can't swap out into Pelipper because it's our best answer. And Ferrothorn does better than Azumaril against this thing, so we might as well stay in. And most people aren't expecting the Flash Cannon. I have one-shot so many Abomasnows that don't shield this. Ready for it? Bang! One shot, get out of there, Abomasnow. And now we're able to take switch advantage. We give it up straight away because we're not sure what they've got in back. We want to tempt out a potential water counter in the back since we've got a bit of health left on Ferrothorn. And they bring in an Azumaril, we swap in our Azumaril, and they don't swap out, which means they probably don't have a better answer for water than just this neutral matchup, which is looking pretty good for us because if they don't have a better answer for Azumaril, they probably don't have a better answer for Pelipper, which means there's a good chance Pelipper can sweep this endgame. We'll see what they do here. They throw another Play Rough. We're not going to shield this. We're going to soft lose this matchup and then get some energy on either Pelipper or Ferrothorn. Either's fine at this point. Just going to throw. They will have to throw to take us out. We get to an Ice Beam, and if they're counting, they know it's an Ice Beam. They don't have to shield, and they don't shield, so that's ballsy on their part. They know what they can get away with, but they are going to throw and take us out. They've used quite a bit of their energy. They're very low, so we come with Ferrothorn hoping to farm down, and they actually come in with, what was that they just come in with? Was that a Stunfisk? No, it was a Sableye. Okay, Sableye is kind of scary, but also Pelipper does very well on even shields in this matchup. With all shields down, they just throw the return and one-shot you, and that's awful. But when you've got even shields, the wing attacks really chip away to the point where one Weather Ball landing and then a bunch of wing attacks can be enough to take out the Sableye. So you can see we've landed one Weather Ball, and now we can just farm them down and have a bunch of energy to dump at that Azumarill that's still in the back, that's got no health. They can't survive these weather balls, so they're going to have to shield this or get taken out. And then if they don't have a move ready immediately, we're going to get to one more, and this is going to give us the win. That's going to be a good game. So with the Bomber Snow, go straight for the Flash Cannon. It's not worth baiting. You won't get away with it. You have to start giving up shields. Go for the Flash Cannon, see what happens. If they end up taking you out and they shield the Flash Cannon, come in with Pelipper to finish them off. Okay, we've only got 2 more leads to cover. This has been a long video. If you stuck around this far, thank you so much. And if you haven't subscribed, why not? You've been here watching me for 45 minutes. Now, let's talk about Venusaur. Venusaur's a brilliant lead for Ferrothorn. You're resisting all the moves. You can hit them for massive damage with the Flash Cannon. So naturally, they're probably going to swap out. If they don't swap out, they're probably weak in the back, so it's worth preserving some health on your Ferrothorn. But they do swap out to a Stunfisk. So we're going to, and this is probably to bait out a water. We presume the Venusaur is to take out any water types. Stunfisk baits out a water type, and then they have something else that's weak to water in the back. So as long as we keep switch advantage, we're feeling pretty good about this matchup. We don't need to shield this. Because it's an XL Azumaril, we can survive 2 Earthquakes pretty comfortably. They have to get to a Rock Slide as well to finish us off. We're just going to farm down. But you get to an Ice Beam against this Venusaur. This will hit for good damage. I don't think they're going to shield because they know that it's still locked against the Ferrothorn. And then we're going to see what they've got in the back. We've still all got 2 shields on every side, and it's a Bastiodon. Okay, this is bad news. It is weak to water, but also Bastiodon smashes Pelipper to pieces because it's so bulky. It can survive 3 weather balls. I think it's 4 weather balls to knock out a Bastiodon, and Pelipper gets farmed down long before then. So we're actually going to save Pelipper for the Venusaur because the wing attack's super effective, and it's pretty much in weather ball range now, that Venusaur, maybe with a couple of wing attacks. And we're going to stay in here with Ferrothorn and put some work in because we outpace them to charge moves. Again, it's 4 Power Whips as well to KO a Bastiodon because it's so dang bulky. But we're able to spam to them a lot faster than they can get to Flamethrowers. The Flamethrowers would do massive damage to us if they land. So at this point, we have to consider now, because they've committed 2 shields into this Bastiodon, they've realised that it must be their win condition at this point because we didn't swap out. We're going to get to 1 more Power Whip, and I don't think we actually have to consider, I was going to have to consider catching a Flamethrower on Pelipper. We're not going to swap out straight away. The opponent swaps out, they've got a Frenzy Plant ready to go. This is kind of scary. It won't quite take us out, but will get us very low. We're able to just get to this Weather Ball to take out the Venusaur. That's fine. But now the Bastiodon farms us down. Does it have a Flamethrower? And it does. It's got a move ready. This is going to take us out. So actually, we did swap out at the right time to try and catch, but also they swapped out thinking that we might try and catch, and they played that last few seconds very, very well. GG to them. Okay, the last lead I'm going to talk about is Cresselia. If there's any leads I've missed and haven't covered that you want to know about, or any team comps you want me to give advice on, feel free to ask in the comments down below and I'll try and get to them, try to reply and let you guys know what I think you should do in those situations. But with Cresselia lead, you want to stay in. You resist Future Sight, you resist Moonblast, you double resist Grass Knot, you got nothing to worry about from a Cresselia. You actually stay in for a while and build up a lot of energy. It's a little scary before they swap out to a Stunfisk. So once again, we feel like this team is trying to bait out a water. They're trying to bait out it, then take this out with the Cresselia, with its Grass Knot, and then they've probably got something else weak to water in the back. We're just hoping it's not another Bastiodon, because as we've seen, that's very tough to handle once Azumarill is gone. But also, Ferrothorn can put in a lot of work, and it's in a bit of a better condition than it was from the Venusaur matchup, because those Psycho Cuts have really done practically nothing to us. I'm going to go ahead and throw this Ice Beam, see if we get a shield out of them, and we don't. They let it go down, so we've got shield advantage and switch advantage. This Cresselia is going for an optimistic farm down. Realises it can't get it. I think they could have actually, but they decide to throw, which is nice for us. They burn some energy, and we don't have to worry about the extra energy that they've got to put into our Ferrothorn because it's all resisted, and Cresselia is not very attack weighted. But they have Altaria in the back, so they were hoping to bait specifically, they were hoping to bait Azumarill out, and they succeeded. But because we're able to land the Flash Cannon, which does good neutral damage, now you see the wing attacks are starting to chip away. So we can threaten now with Weather Ball. This wouldn't knock out, but it will get it pretty low to the point where we can definitely wing attack it down. We might have to shield another Sky Attack, but that's fine. It's worthwhile to get rid of this Altaria and make sure it can't do any damage to our Ferrothorn because it is Like, Cresselia is so heavily walled by Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn can put in so much work, it can deal with Cresselia and put work in everything else as well. The Cresselia again throws last minute at the Pelipper. We're not pressured to shield, we don't need Pelipper. Ferrothorn can just deal with this. We can probably farm down with Bullet Seed at this point. Cresselia is going to dump some energy into us all the same. We're probably not going to shield. Now we'll shield the next one if they throw another, but they realise that it's game over. GG! Okay guys, I'm going to leave you with this matchup, and that is against a Nidoqueen lead. For reference, a Nidoqueen lead is very positive for Ferrothorn, power ups it for good damage or resisting the poison moves. If it's a Shadow and they build up to Earth power, I do recommend you shield it. So, thank you for sticking around this long. If you have, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We're on the road to 1,000. Let me know if you enjoy the team. Let me know if it's putting in some good work for you. If there's any matchups you want to know about, if I've missed on here, or any matchups I just haven't come across and thought to include, let me know down below and I'll try and get back to you about what kind of strategy I recommend you try and run against it. You're all legends, and I'll catch you all next time.